back to Oversteer Auto Reviews. Today I'm back at Mercedes-Benz of Seattle reviewing this brand new 2023 Mercedes-Benz C300 4Matic. It's a great vehicle and in my opinion looks great, but it does resemble the S-Class a little bit too much in my opinion. But without further ado, let's break this vehicle down and complete a review. Now for 2023, the Mercedes-Benz C300 has featured a completely new redesign, and I'll start off from the front. It is notable to point out that the vehicle I have here does not have the AMG appearance group, meaning that the front bumper, the rear bumper, and the side skirts are different along with the wheels and front grille. Now this is the regular grille. It's winged. It does not have the two wings like it did in the previous generation, but this is, in my opinion, better looking. It also has these vertical inserts like the Panamera grille, but these are painted black so they hide away. Now you have the Mercedes-Benz emblem right here and also on the upper portion of the front bumper, which blends in very nicely in these new body lines ranging from the front bumper all the way to the back of the hood. You have these two center humps like you see in the Mercedes GLE. And then moving on to the lower portion, you have the lower bumper, which allows air to go in. Most of the bumper has been blocked off so that the engine does not get fed too much air. This is a 2-liter turbocharged engine, meaning that you can't feed it too much air, otherwise it's just not going to make sense for the amount of power it's making. Another thing to point out which is new about the vehicle is the LED high performance headlights, which look really good. These are also adaptive, meaning that these will turn based on the steering input and give you a better view of the road as a whole. Now with the redesign of the 2023 C300, you also have a slightly redesigned 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder. Now this engine makes 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, very similar to the last year's C300. This motor has seen a little bit of changes. For example, the turbocharger is in a new location. You can actually see the downpipe heading down into the exhaust manifold. You also have the intake manifold right over here, and all the other goodies, which are very nicely and easily placed. The thing to note about the turbocharger is that it has a very nice and beautiful wastegate noise whenever you load up the throttle. That's something a lot of car guys enjoy, and I'm happy that a base model Mercedes actually has something that sounds pretty good made it to a 4-cylinder engine. In addition to that, the vehicle has a 48-volt mild hybrid system, which is an electric motor sandwiched between the flywheel and the clutch of the vehicle, which provides a starter motor, so you don't have to hear the starter motor every time you start the vehicle, but it also provides a temporary speed boost whenever you're trying to overtake for shorter periods of time. Now this is the 4Matic version of the vehicle, meaning that it has an all-wheel drive system. I believe this vehicle is going to be front-wheel drive biased until the rear wheels need to kick in, but this is most likely going to be all-time all-wheel drive. And it also has a 9-speed automatic transmission, which shifts so quickly, sometimes you can't even feel the vehicle shifting. Now the side is where I see the most resemblance to the newer S-Class, and that is because these headlights are shaped exactly like that. You see the front fender and the A-pillar, B-pillar match very closely to the S-Class I reviewed about a year ago. That's when they had the brand new redesign. I do like that the 18-inch wheels with the lower profile tire do fit very well on the vehicle. It doesn't look like they're 18s, they look like 19s in accordance to the rest of the vehicle. You have auto folding mirrors when the vehicle is locked. This vehicle has keyless go. The keys are in my pocket. I flip my fingers into the door handle. Vehicle unlocks and greets me with that little beep. You can see that the vehicle has illuminated entry because there is a projector on these side mirrors. This vehicle also has active blind spot assist, meaning that you'll get a little orange triangle if there's something in your blind spot while driving. Now the only main resemblance I see between this C-Class and the previous generation C-Class is the C-pillar along with the rear fender. That gives pretty much the same view or same design language that it had in the previous generation. This vehicle does not have rear wheel steering like the S-Class or any of the higher end models, but that's okay. Now this vehicle does come in the C300 rear wheel drive version, the C300 4Matic, which is this one, and a C63. The C63 is the biggest disgrace to Mercedes that it has ever seen because it is a 4-cylinder 63. but that's okay. We'll just remember when it had a 6.2 liter V8. Here we are at the wheels. You have these 18-inch multi-spoke Mercedes-Benz wheels. This does not have the AMG appearance package, meaning that these do not have the AMG style wheels. Although these wheels are an option on the new C-Class, and in my opinion, they are worth the additional upgrade. Mercedes-Benz always does a stellar job with their rear end styling, and this is no different. This has a redesigned rear end like the rest of the vehicle. I keep saying that over and over again, and I do apologize. But this has taillights like the new S-Class. These actually have individual LED strips, which I think look very good. Sadly, that these are not sequential. Above this left taillight, you'll see the C300 badge in chrome and the 4Matic badge on the right. The rear bumper has four sensors for your parking assist, which is great. It beeps at you very, very gently. It also gives you a 3D surround camera. The lower portion has fake vents blocked off completely. There is chrome lining on them. You also have reflectors on both sides. Let's get onto the trunk test. Before we do that, electronic closing and electronic close while also locking the vehicle. The right side and left side both have the seat folding buttons. More of a switch than a button, but same difference. Now, the entrance to the trunk is a little bit tight. My equipment decided it did not want to cooperate with me, so I'll give you a POV trunk test. Good amount of room here. You can slide in quite gently. And I can actually use the electronic close to lock myself in. And this actually gives you a pretty good view as to how this trunk release works. Look, it's electronic beyond that. Inside the trunk you have a very good amount of space. You also have latches if you need to latch anything into place. All four sides. Here is the switch. I'll push that down, pull it up actually to release the seats. You don't even have to go around back to see it in action. Okay, well, the seatbelt caught that one. The seatbelt was not catching on that one. That's why they folded down. So make sure your seatbelts are clear and there are no passengers in there if you do wish to fold your seats down. They do not fold up, which is kind of sad, but then again, base model C-Class. And then lastly, for this trunk, inside the cargo cover, you will see no spare tire here. You'll see the original lug nuts, a tire release kit, and a first aid kit, along with whatever those are. Honestly, I like the POV style for the interior, so you can see that the seats were folded down. A good amount of strength is required to get these back into place. But that seat is set to my desired sitting position. And now you can see my leg room, my knee room. I'd say a good amount of space. And I like this door because this has a new aluminum trim with aluminum window switches. Very nice. You have an aluminum door handle with gloss unlock and lock buttons. This is pretty new for a Mercedes, especially a base model, having lock and unlock switches in the back. The little thing that used to be here. You can see this really huge headrest. And honestly, the acoustic canceling, or whatever you'd like to call it, is quite nice. Here is a nice view of the front end. New non-flat bottom steering wheel, the new MBUX infotainment system, and the new flowing lines trim, which in my opinion looks pretty good. You also have these individual climate control vents, which click when you set them in their base position. You can see here the Here you can see the MBTEX imitation leather seats, and in my opinion these look very good and they're quite comfortable as well. You also have the sunroof, not the panoramic, which is a $1,000+ option, but it does have a sunroof and it makes it feel a lot more roomy in here. In my opinion, this is a nice interior. Let's get into the front. Another thing I find quite cool is that the camera actually moves based on your steering input. This is brand new for Mercedes-Benz, and this surround view camera is actually really, really good. You also have your parking assistant, which is great for parallel parking if you're not too good. This is something I really like about Mercedes-Benz. They're really putting in effort to make driving easier. You also have a 3D animation, which helps you figure out where the boundaries of your vehicle are. Really, really great system. Here we are on the interior driver's side of the Mercedes C300 4Matic. You can see, like the rear passengers, you have the lock and unlock with the aluminum door handle, and here you have the haptic based seat adjustment controls. These do not actually move, but they actually do control these seats quite well. Just takes a little bit getting used to. Now, one thing I do like is that you have the hamstring adjustment tool in a base model Mercedes without having to buy an additional package. You also have the trunk opening button, a nice cubby, really, really large as well. You also have the bass speakers. On the left, you have the main driver climate vent. On the left, you have the light controls, and you have the electronic parking brake. Below this is going to be your engine latch, which I showed briefly earlier. Here you have electronic steer adjustment, which is very nice in my opinion. Here is the wiper stalk and the turn signal, which is quite great in my opinion. Really simple. I like the fact that Mercedes has made it so that it looks a little bit more premium instead of just being completely plastic. Speaking of completely plastic, we have completely plastic paddle shifters, which feel relatively solid. I just wish that they were metal like they are in any other vehicle that I've reviewed 2022 plus. Now let's start the vehicle. And you control this center screen with the left side of the steering wheel. The button up a little bit. Now this vehicle does have PDI still to be done, and therefore the vehicle really isn't prepared in the sense that the screens still have the little vinyl on them. I will not be taking these off in respect for whoever buy this vehicle, but you can see the classic gauges. They're going to be just like that. The vehicle is a little bit low on fuel, but that's okay. Speedometer goes up to 160, no big deal. Vehicle is low on fuel, but that is okay. It also tells you how many passengers have their seats unbuckled, which is new in a Mercedes. This vehicle has a bunch of different customization options. I've shown this before, I believe, in the S-Class that I reviewed, but there is a multitude of different configurations you can have in this. You can actually even change your center screen to be a little bit more sporty. Here you have the adaptive cruise control. You can see all of these options. It's quite nice and very easy to use. On the right hand side, you have this button that controls this screen in the center. This MBUX system I have reviewed before. If you want to see that, I will link a video in the top right or left. The start stop button right over here, and this is for your automatic engine turning off whenever you stop the vehicle, let's say at a red light, for example. This is the clicking I talked about. So when they're in their center main position, they click like that. I've reviewed this, like I said earlier. Here we have a gloss, not glass, center area. This is a wireless charger. It does work. It does charge your phone relatively well. They have updated this. It used to not work as good before. You also have two cup holders, medium size. They could fit maybe a medium-sized Slurpee from your nearest 7-Eleven. Center console, not too bad. You have two USB-C ports in there. Next, moving on to the glove box. Relatively well sized, 2 layers, as you can see like there. Best place to keep your vehicle registration. You have the rearview mirror. This is not electronic like I wish Mercedes-Benz would start doing, but that is okay. You also do have ambient lighting up here as well. This is how you open the sunroof. I just slide your finger across like so. Your center light options. If you ever get into a crash, then you can press this button. Your rear lights, your Mercedes Me help, and all of your all of your lights and door warnings to turn off. This is the button you will press. Overall, it's a very solid interior in my opinion. I think that in terms of a new base model Mercedes, it's actually quite nice. One thing I did notice, if it works again, is that if you put the vehicle into sport mode, then the turbo spools up a lot more than it does in comfort or eco mode. And that's something I really find quite cool, especially in a vehicle that's not the most premium Mercedes. Now, without further ado, let's get into a drive.
Right off the bat, driving the 2023 C300, I already feel the better throttle response, and that is something that the previous generation lacked. The driving feeling of this vehicle is very nice, and I also like how weighted the steering wheel feels. It's not cheap, and it doesn't feel like it's a base model Mercedes anymore. It feels like you're actually driving something with high quality. Now for this driving portion, there won't be too much acceleration, so this is going to be more of a comfort drive. Now in terms of the comfort setting, the suspension is really soft, but it's not too soft. You feel really good in slow speed corners, and that with the bumps, you feel really nice and cushioned in the seat. The springs dampening is really good. Not too aggressive, but it's not too soft. It's a really good medium, and we'll get onto some sporty driving in a little bit. You can really feel that rear bias all-wheel drive kicking in, especially when we accelerated into that corner, and I honestly really like the way it drives, and it sounds really good. Sadly, that blow-off valve noise is only on the outside and not in the cabin. First vehicle for comparison is the 2023 Audi A4, and this is in the Prestige package because it's what the price matches best with. Now I am biased against Audis because I personally don't like them, and they also have the all-wheel drive system Quattro, which is front-wheel drive biased in this vehicle specification. It turns into a 50-50 and then rear bias for the RS models, but in the A and S models, it's going to stay front-wheel drive biased until the traction is lost and then the rear wheels kick in, which is something I personally do not like. I made a mistake earlier in the video, which I did correct. But the Audi is going to have front-wheel drive biased all-wheel drive system, even though people argue that it is the best all-wheel drive system in the segment, and that can be put to the test, but I have not driven a 2023 A4. In terms of price, you can get a lower trim for a lower base price, around $40,000, and if that is something you'd like, and if you like Audi over Mercedes, then this is a better buy for you. But in terms of looks, I like the way that the new C-Class looks in terms of overall body styling and interior styling, because Audi's new screen system is quite frankly a little bit too much. Next is going to be the 2023 BMW 330i xDrive, and in my opinion this is going to be really the better vehicle for you if you're going for a sportier approach or for something that looks better. And now I do say that the 330i looks better than the new C-Class. Now, yes, the C-Class does look a little bit more like the S-Class, but the 330i just has a more muscular and more luxurious appeal to it from my point of view. And if you're going to step up, this has more options to step up with in terms of the powertrain. But let's touch on xDrive first. Now, xDrive is going to be rear biased until the front wheels needs to kick in for the all-wheel drive, which is a really good thing. And BMW is going to be mainly rear dependent, more dependent than the 55% at the rear than the Mercedes. So if you want better cornering, this is going to be the vehicle for you. Now, speaking of trim levels, now you're going to have the 340i and then the M340i, which is going to have a B58 motor. A really phenomenal motor with lots of tuning potential if you are into tuning your European vehicles. And then lastly, you have the M3 Competition, and soon the M3 CS. And those are all really good vehicles. And quite frankly, they're going to blow the doors off a C63 for 2023 in terms of engine noise and quite frankly looks as well.
And that, my friends, is the complete review on the 2023 Mercedes-Benz C300 4Matic. In my opinion, it's a great vehicle, especially for a base model. Now I say base model with air quotes because this does have a little bit of options, like the Flowing lines wood trim I showed you earlier, that's a $200 option. This graphite gray metallic paint color is a $750 option, and some of the additional safety features in the interior that I pointed out to you are also an additional option. But nonetheless, this vehicle comes out to $51,375. And based on the current market and the quality of this vehicle, I'm going to say that this is really good. The drive of this modern C300 is a lot better than the last generation. I feel that this is more of a luxury car, where the previous generation was trying to be a sporty car. And that might be better or worse for you depending on who you are, but you can also get this in the AMG appearance package, which does make the front, rear, and sides look a little bit more aggressive if you want a C300 that suits your style a little bit more. In my opinion, this is worth to get because this is a phenomenal vehicle, both in performance and looks. That is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe. And remember to keep on driving.